The mission of Google Maps has always been how you explore the world and how you navigate the world.
For a long time, you had to kind of understand how to express a query to maps. It's kind of the same thing with search, right?
Yeah.
Tacos near me or Italian restaurant near me. And if you can formulate the query in just the right way, you might get a list of results that you could sort of reason about, but you kind of have to do all the hard work. What we're able to do now is to really be able to allow people to express themselves naturally, the way they think about what they're looking for, and really bring those answers directly to the user without forcing them to do all that work.
There's lots of restaurants who have very beautiful, eloquent images. It's like the marketing food pictures. And I'm like, I would like that food. And then the real food does not look like that. And I'm curious, this is actually an interesting Ask Maps use case to be like, how close is this sort of marketing food imagery to the real user submitted photos? Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to Release Notes. My name is Logan Kilpatrick. Today we're joined by Dave and Miriam. We're talking about an all-new Google Maps experience, the biggest update ever. So Miriam, do you want to sort of kick it off and tell us what's new in the Maps experience?
I would love to. This is what we've been working on for so long. The mission of Google Maps has always been how you explore the world and how you navigate the world. Both of these elements are getting a huge new transformational upgrade with this latest launch. When you come to Google Maps and you search for places or places to go, things to do, people used to put in restaurants and things like that. But now we're introducing Ask Maps, which is a complete conversational experience powered by Gemini. So you can actually express what you're looking to do. I have a date night coming up, looking for a restaurant, a cozy spot with good views. You can give it a complex query and it will find just the right thing for you. On the navigation side, we're introducing an entirely new navigation experience. Probably the biggest upgrade since we first launched, and we'll tell you more about that.
Yeah, Dave, anything you want to add as sort of like highlights of the experience? I don't know, for you personally.
One of my favorite things about the Ask Maps part, the part that is really the conversational experience, is I think traditionally users sort of have one set of capabilities to search for places, another set of capabilities to figure out how to get there, right? And these are kind of the two main things we help people with. What's amazing with this new Gemini-powered experience is that we can really intermingle that for users, right? They can find places to go along a journey. They can plan a road trip. They can really understand how to get around Europe if they're planning a train trip. And it's something that I think is naturally the way people plan and think about being out in the world. Traditionally, they've kind of had to conform the way they think to the way Maps works, but now we allow people to express themselves much more naturally and much more expressively too, so that they can really tell us what they're looking for and find rich answers to their questions.
I love that. And the experience is initially rolling out to US and India users.
Ask Maps is rolling out in US and India.
Nice.
The navigation experience, which we're calling Immersive Navigation, is rolling out in the US first.
Nice, exciting. Maybe we can sort of go into the details of what's actually enabling this new experience. Obviously Gemini, and we have a great model. We were talking off camera. It's great at spatial understanding, which is enabling a lot of this use case. But what else had to be done in order to make this happen? And actually, also interestingly, was it possible with previous iterations of Gemini, or really sort of the model capability crossed the chasm where it now works for this type of use case that y'all have?
Yeah, we've actually been working on the previous versions of the model as well. I would say when we came to Gemini 2.5, we actually saw a huge step function improvement in how it was able to do the reasoning and answer complex questions. And with 3.0, it's just got even better, better, faster for us. The other thing is it's able to reason more powerfully through all of the map facts that we've got and through, a lot of the reviews and photos and user-generated content, which is where a lot of the insider tips come out from. There's many examples. Like the other day, I was running out of charge. And I just asked Maps, where can I quickly plug in for charging? And I don't want to stand in a long line buying coffee. And it actually found public places where I could charge, the city hall, a library, and so on. So it's surprising, delightful things that you would not have thought to ask for is now possible because of Gemini's reasoning.
Yeah, and specifically, I don't know how I would have found that information unless like somebody like made a website of like, here are the top 5 places to charge your phone in Menlo Park or Redwood City or something. I feel like that would have been
Exactly. Things
impossible.
that would have taken hours of research and it might have still been futile.
One of the things that's been kind of exciting about the journey is LLMs aren't great at geospatial reasoning. As you all mentioned, like 3.0 is a lot better, and we've been able to really improve those capabilities, but also really kind of understanding that tool usage paradigm around, we have built what we believe is best in class routing capabilities, for example. It helps someone figure out what's the best driving route or public transportation route between 2 points.
Yeah.
And to be able to enable Gemini to use those capabilities helps us kind of unlock some things that we couldn't do just natively with the models. So really taking the best of Geo's kind of geospatial capabilities, the backends we've been working on for honestly, over a decade, and kind of allowing Gemini to use that capability to answer users' questions has been really, really an exciting journey.
Yeah, it is exciting. Deb, I'm actually also curious. We were talking about this a little earlier, and this like expansion of people's relationship with maps. And I think this, again, historically, you go to maps and like, in a lot of cases, you kind of like knew where you wanted to go. I use maps all the time to try to like search, and it's kind of like it's historic. Like I'd like go and like look in physical areas and click on a bunch of stuff and try to do it. I feel like the conversational interface is like is a new way that people are sort of expressing what their intent inside of maps. And I'm curious, as you think about like the considerations in building an experience for people who like weren't doing that before. Like there's, many, many millions of people, billions of people using maps, but they're not doing it like that. They don't have that relationship right now. So I'm curious if there's any story of how we're enabling that.
Yeah, I mean, it is a big step forward. I would say for a long time, you had to kind of understand how to express a query to maps. It's kind of the same thing with search, right?
Yeah.
We have these, what we would call a categorical queries. So you could say tacos near me or Italian restaurant near me. And if you can formulate the query in just the right way, you might get a list of results that you could sort of reason about, but you kind of have to do all the hard work, look at the reviews, extract the information. What we're able to do now is to really be able to allow people to express themselves naturally, the way they think about what they're looking for. I want a romantic date night restaurant with a sunset view, and be able to pull on that corpus of UGC information that like our users have contributed, as well as everything we know about the world in our map facts database, and really bring those answers directly to the user without forcing them to do all that work. And our journey to getting there is, we started with like a set of what we called platinum questions, where we really wanted to both test the model, but also test our designs to make sure that the right information was bubbling to the top, that it was easy to scan, it was appropriately visual and parsable. And we kind of started by testing on those. But then very quickly, the story goes, we had to dog food it a lot, right? So we all use it very passionately in our recreational lives outside of work, and we dream up queries, but we also do the natural queries that come to us. I was at Chase Center for the Warriors game last weekend and was like trying to figure out what's a good place to eat there. So that was a great occasion to test out Ask Maps. And it's by this kind of, ruthless dog fooding that we actually start to understand what's working, what isn't working, what makes sense to us. And then we layer on top of that, obviously we go out to users, we have a trusted tester program, and we start to kind of understand what's working for a wider user community, make sure we pay attention to some younger users who may be more used to kind of emerging AI trends, and start to really triangulate what are the kinds of answers that are useful, that resonate with our users, that kind of help them make the decisions they're trying to make.
I would say Ask Maps is going to feel both familiar and new. It's going to be a hybrid, I think. The familiar part is people come to Maps because they can get access to information quickly, and they trust this information. If we give them open hours, they sort of trust it, and we work hard to win that trust. They get directions quickly. They get information at a glance, right? We call that the shape of the answer. So when we actually worked on, how to present answers, even to completely broad, open-ended questions, we really emphasized bringing out that shape of the answer, where it is still scannable, glanceable, and you quickly get what you need. Because we truly understand, regardless of how you ask the question, you might be very close to stepping out the door or already on the go. Right? So that's what I think will be a little familiar in terms of how you see the shape of the answer. But there's going to be a lot of new things in that answer that you might not have anticipated. For example, if you've been a Maps user for a while, you might find that it personalizes the dining spots it recommends for you.
Interesting. I was actually going to ask this. Like, we've rolled out personal intelligence across, I think it's AI mode and the Gemini app. And my anecdotal story is I'm on my sort of Bay Area restaurant quest. I think my first 4 years Bay Area experience, I was like, there's no good restaurants. I think I'm obviously wrong about this. And I found a bunch of good restaurants in the last like 3 months. So I'm on a good streak now of finding good places. And I would love maps to sort of take that into consideration and like help me continue to find the new stuff. So it's like just truly personalized on like the.
Yeah, dining is a great use case that users come to Maps for. So it's kind of like our hero use case.
Yeah.
And in dining, what you'll find is based on the kind of searches you've done before, if you actually said, find me vegan spots, we might know that you have a preference for vegan food. But also if you, from your current experience, if you've actually saved a spot, favorited it, put it on a list. I create a list in every city I go to. Maps knows that about you. It knows what's on those lists. And so when it comes back with recommendations, it might actually say, based on what you had liked before and what you had put on this list, you might like these other spots.
I like this. I'm going to make a list of the places that are good so
Yes,
that I get
yes.
the good recommendations.
Well, and I have the problem Miriam talks about, which is I have so many lists and so many places I want to go to. Sometimes I just need help remembering them. Like, I'll be in New York in a couple of weeks. I'll show up there and I've got like 100 places I want to eat in the city. And I'm like, okay, which of these should I be making a reservation at? And if it can help me reason about that, that'll be amazing too.
A lot of my friends have always been saying, can you please allow us to search these lists somehow and filter it out
Yeah.
somehow? Guess what? You don't even have to do all that work. Just ask Maps.
I love that.
We spent a lot of time thinking about what can maps uniquely do? What kind of experience can we deliver that is really powerful for users when they're out and about or when they're planning, that we have the content that we can really use to create? Miriam and I like to talk about what we call visual aids. Words are great and is a key part of the chatbot experience, but if we can bring a place to life through the imagery that our users submit and upload, that really can add the richness to the responses. So we want to make sure there's kind of a balance between eloquently worded chatbot responses, but also maps and beautiful imagery that really helps you understand what a place is going to be like.
This is my maps feature request, which is I feel like there's lots of restaurants who have very beautiful, eloquent images, and they're like sort of, it's like the marketing food pictures. And I'm like, I would like that food. And then the real food does not look like that. And I'm curious, this is actually an interesting maps, ask maps use case to be like, how close is this sort of marketing food imagery to the real user submitted photos?
So, I like to use this phrase, we bring out the human voices in this age of AI.
I like that.
Okay. Because we have 500 million contributors around the world. That's a whopping big number,
Yeah.
right? But it's spread around the world. We get so many contributions from users. And of late, everything has become rich and visual, right? We actually had a push to make things rich and visual. So people have been uploading real photos of the food as it arrives on their table, right? And real photos of the restaurants they're in, the vibe that they're feeling. Sometimes even videos are being uploaded. And we've been using AI to actually, correlate between the menus that people are uploading and the dish photos they're uploading, and actually even naming the dishes. So what you might see as part of these responses is very real, right? It's not just those marketing photos and videos.
I love that.
We hear from our users, actually, one of the favorite kinds of photo or video that we post is just the panorama, the 10-second panorama of what it's like at happy hour, right? What's the vibe? What is the noise level? How are people dressed? What the energy level is like? And so that authenticity that you talk about looking for is what a lot of people come to Maps looking for, because they don't want the marketing version. They want to know what it's really going to be like when they go there.
Yeah.
And if I may allow to plug something in, local merchants, the small merchants, are very important to us, right? And to the users in the community. So we've actually been encouraging local merchants to record these panoramic videos, or, working with us to help promote that business. They're hidden gems, local gems. So you'll see some of these local and hidden gems come out in the answers as well. And, our immersive view, which was a feature we launched 2 or 3 years ago, shows the vibe video in real. It's not a marketing video. It shows a real, what does this restaurant look like? What is the vibe? Do I want to go there?
I love that. My second feature request is the thing that my girlfriend actually does when we go to restaurants is we're like looking at the pictures to try to like correlate that to the menu. And I feel like if there's some way to do this in maps, this is the dream for me, because I'm like, I can't decide what to eat unless I can see what the food looks like. And so you have to like do this manually. And I'm like trying to see, like, did they say what they ordered in this picture so that I can attach that to the menu picture that they uploaded? I feel like this would be a great Ask Maps use case to be like, here's the menu. Can you like tell me what's on what user uploaded pictures correlate to those items? I feel like that would be a killer feature.
Stay tuned on that.
Thank you. I'm excited.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll do it for I/O. Awesome. Well, I want to see the new Maps experience, so maybe we can try out some demos.
We have some ready to go.
Let's do it. I'm excited.
Okay. So you see this, the home screen of Maps that you're familiar with. You see the little chip. It's the first chip now, Ask Maps. You tap on it, you enter this conversational experience. I'd like to show something that might really apply to you. This is a query that I just tried this morning. I need a gym that is open at 6 a.m., has clean showers, and is along my route between home and work. And there's a lot of little nuances here, you know. The first thing is timing. Clean showers, which is not easy to know unless somebody recommended the gym to you. And somewhere between home and work, right? This is if you are somebody who's a Maps user, you know, you've probably put in your home and work address. Okay, so, you know, we're looking at the answer here. The first thing I want to point out is it's maps forward. You know, you actually see the map with the places on it. It's a very contextual map, not a one-size-fits-all map. It's very relevant to your response. But what it's showing you is part of the answer, right? It's found a couple of places. And really important is, since you asked about clean showers, it's telling you that reviewers consistently praise their locker rooms. They're spacious, and it has great clean showers and steam and sauna and everything. There's also...
I like these reviews from users. Somebody saying, described as downright luxurious. That's the kind of the
validation.
The details you want.
Yeah. And you also see, you know, some additional information, you know, if it has a gym, a sauna, this, that, and everything. Logan, how about we try something that is really relevant to you?
Yeah.
If you were to ask Maps something, what would it be?
Oh, Dave was poking fun at me about my "there's no good restaurants in the Bay Area" comments, which there definitely are. So let's see if we can find some of them. I'm vegetarian. I don't like loud restaurants. I would ideally like to avoid the things that everyone else is going to, though maybe everyone's going to all the good restaurants. So those are my 3 prompts. I don't know. I was gonna say
What location? Like what city?
Yeah. Try it. We're in Mountain View right now, so like hopefully something within like 20 minutes, so that I don't have to sit in traffic for an hour.
Okay, I just captured it like you said it.
I like it.
Okay, let's run that.
I mean, this is really to the point we were talking about before, where a power user could probably figure out how to do this with Maps.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of work, and most of our users aren't power users.
Yeah.
Apparently, that was a very easy query.
Nice. Yeah.
It says, you know, finding a quiet restaurant with veg options is easy.
Well, actually,
around
I've got a
Mountain View.
follow-up for this, which is I don't want a vegetarian restaurant. What I found is like, actually, this is my problem often, which is like if I go specifically a vegetarian restaurant, you just get it's too nuanced. I want like normal restaurants that have like a few good vegetarian options.
Okay.
And I wonder if that'll
Sounds good. Now we could modify it, but it's very possible that these are not all just vegetarian restaurants. But let's try what you just said.
They look pretty veggie.
They do. Wild Seed, very classic Bay Area vegetarian restaurant. So
restaurants within 20 minutes.
And I assume this conversation is like it's multi-turn. So does it have
It's
context
absolutely
about?
multi-turn,
Nice.
yeah.
Nice.
Within 20 minutes, and with good veg options. And table for 2, since you mentioned your girlfriend.
Not too loud.
Not too loud.
Oh, it might already know that you don't want it too loud.
I like that. That's good.
Let's
Hopefully
try
it
that.
does. But I think this is fun because you can like, I can imagine trading off. Like, I'm actually willing to, I wonder if I can tell them all this. Like, I'm willing to trade off a little bit of noise if it really is the best place. Like, I'm willing to compromise slightly.
Since you're in a back-to-back conversation here,
Yeah.
it actually knew finding a quiet restaurant with great vegetarian options.
I like that.
So wild seed still came up, and it's actually showing you that it's actionable. If you like what you're seeing, this table's available at these times.
Yeah.
You can just select and turn plans into action.
Can I do one more follow-up on this, which is I want places that don't have lots of reviews. This is my other new filtering mechanism, which is like, if the place has almost too many reviews, I'm like, it means it's the place everyone's going to. I want to try to find something like a little newer, a little, yeah, I want the hidden gems.
Yeah.
Our hidden gems algorithm actually considers that.
I like that. Perfect. I love this.
How about that?
Yeah, let's try it. It's also fast. This is awesome. It's like we're getting answers quick. Launching 5 expeditions. I like it. This is good. This is good. I like this. This is my comment before of the fusion of the marketing image and the real image. And this one on the right looks like a great example of the marketing image next to the like real actual image of the like user uploaded version of it, which is cool.
Actually, almost all the photos you're seeing here are user uploaded images.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yeah, they're all coming from our corpus of user generated content.
I love it. I'm gonna have to check out some of these places.
Some more quiet finds. And here you go with a very helpful map.
Nice. This is awesome. And it does it do multimodal queries right now? Like, do people like upload images of like menus or things like that and be like, find me something that has food options similar to this?
Not right now. We'll take that into consideration.
We got all the feature requests. I'm excited.
Lots of feature requests in it.
Yeah. Awesome.
When we work on maps, we're used to the feature requests. We get it from the friends and family all the time.
I love it. Other examples? Do we want to show anything else?
Things to do would be another one if you want to branch out from dining.
Yeah. And maybe just like more open-ended. I'm curious what the...
Like, what's up this weekend? Or like, I want to go for a hike and grab the coffee afterwards. Queries like that.
Yeah, let's see if there's anything fun to do in San Francisco. And this is pulling from, I assume there's like grounding with Google search and some of this as well, like being pulled in?
It's definitely looking at all the information, public information that's available. And it's looking at making sure it's grounded in Maps local data.
Oh, interesting.
So, we can't send you somewhere if it doesn't exist or, if it's not open on the weekends or something like that. So we make sure it's grounded in our data as well. So looks like there's a Chinese New Year's parade.
Nice.
Something to do with the opera.
We're going to the Warriors game.
Yeah.
With Dave.
And some little local stuff like cab crawl.
Mary J. Blige at Chase Center. If you're 90s R&B.
Yeah. I kind of snuck in a best ways to get there because, we wanted to show you what it's like, in terms of looking up, both should I take the train or drive?
Yeah.
So
I need this. Sitting in a Waymo between Mountain View and SF takes a long time, so I need to get better. I'm leaving at rush hour all the time, and I need to ask Maps and start planning my commute better so that I'm not doing that.
Totally. And see, it gave you both driving and Caltrain because we're sitting right here in Mountain View. But depending on where you are, you might see different options.
Yeah. This is awesome. I'm excited.
Okay.
And does this go, and the next step is like, if you were doing the research and then like ready to go, it's just like one click and then
one click and it's actionable. So you would simply let's say you decide to do this.
Yeah.
You just look at directions and it's taking you to public transport.
Nice.
So you just pick which line you want and you're off you go.
That's awesome. I love it. Very cool.
Just like whether you wanted to reserve a table, navigate somewhere, select public transit, you're looking for schedules and timing, it's all just a tap away.
Awesome. I'm super interested, obviously Maps powers more than just Maps. We've got Maps in the Gemini API for developers. We've got the whole Maps developer platform. Maps is also powering a bunch of the experiences for local recommendations in the Gemini app, I think. And maybe there's something interesting we can talk about, parts of that experience or things we learn. I don't know this timeline sequence of this, things we learned doing that, which then carry over to Ask Maps.
Yeah, I'm really glad you asked because when we say maps, it's not just Google Maps. It's actually all of this local data and imagery and information about the world, and it does power Gemini app. It actually powers your local queries and search as well. And so, for example, we've been working very closely with our friends on the Gemini app team to make sure that the local queries really shine inside of the Gemini app. So when you see a map forward response, we're detecting that you're asking something about your local area. And, we pull forward a map with all the places to go to. It's grounded in real world data, the trusted information that we have in maps. So you can feel confident that what you're seeing there is, a real place. And, and what we're recommending is something that will be open for you to go to when you want. So this is part of our collaboration with both Search and with Gemini to make sure that all of the local needs of our users are met regardless of where they go.
It's also like a great way for us to try out some of our ideas, right? To see kind of what works in search and what works in the Gemini app. And, it's so hard to design these things in Figma, in Mocks. You kind of have to do it in the real world with real queries. And so it gives us a great platform to see what's working. And we get inspired by things we think are really working in the Gemini app or in AI mode and bring those into maps too.
Is there a deep research maps sort of like integration, or I assume deep research can just like use maps in some way? Do you find users who are like maybe trying to be like exhaustive, like give me like the bucket list 10 item? I'm thinking about my Bay Area use case. I'm like, do all the research, find me the top 10 places in the Bay, and I'm going to go do that as my bucket list item through maps.
We do see a lot of itinerary planning. People are thinking about, planning out a trip. Even if it's a little further away, I recently just came back from Argentina, and
Nice.
I actually used it to plan out all of my stops, places to go, even what times I should catch some of the shows, things like that.
Yeah, for sure. Planning a summer vacation with my family, going to the Alps, looking at the Dolomites versus the Swiss Alps. Definitely dug into deep research on that, checked out how Ask Maps work. And it's a great way to kind of understand, like, well, what are the kind of answers that make sense to me that I'm going to find useful? And it really, really, really makes it a lot more efficient to plan a trip.
I want to make sure that we get to talk about immersive navigation and hear more about sort of like the story of like how we actually got here today, launching it now I think in the US to start. So maybe we could talk about sort of just the whole, what's the experience today, and also sort of all the work that it took, the technical work to actually get to the launch.
Maybe we'll start with how it was born. When our teams came together, we actually talked about a lot of the real world pain points, to be honest. A lot of what our users have been telling us, like they want more intuitive guidance. When they look at the map, they want to clearly understand where they need to go when they're facing complex interchanges on the road. And road networks have changed dramatically over the last few years. They're not what they looked like 10 years ago. And they're also looking for, how can I arrive with confidence? I'm going to an unfamiliar destination, So there was a lot of these little pain points that I feel myself every day, and we were all discussing. So that's where immersive navigation was born. And we set out to solve these real user pain points. And there are many components to immersive navigation, but I want to let Dave talk about the canvas. A big part of it is the navigation map.
Yeah, we start with the visualization and kind of our goal with it. Driving can be really stressful for people. So our first goal is to kind of create this calm, comforting experience for drivers to help kind of alleviate some of that stress. And so the first most important thing is obviously making it easy as possible for people to follow the route. But it gets complicated pretty quickly, which is you're going through these freeway interchanges, complex intersections, there's buildings, you have to understand what is the right place to turn. And so what we quickly realized is we needed to depict the world around the route in intricate detail so someone could understand where they are in relation to where they need to be and where they need to maneuver. And so we kind of looked at adding dimensionality. How do you bring in buildings so you can kind of recognize where you are in a city or an urban environment? How do you depict roads in a way so you understand when you're going under an overpass versus up on a exit? And we've added shadows and a lot of dimensionality, kind of helped someone spatially reason about that. And then you kind of realize, oh, we've added some buildings, and the route goes behind some buildings around a left turn. So now sometimes the buildings need to be transparent. So we sort of start with this basic idea of the route should be really easy to follow. And you start building on top of that, and you end up with a lot of design problems to solve in order to get it just right. It was quite a process. We kind of start with sort of a numerical understanding of like how contrast ratios need to work to make the polyline of the route most visible to users. But a lot of it is art. A lot of it is using our eyes and judging kind of what makes sense in certain situations. And we kind of start with a set of, what we call golden or platinum routes, where we knew these routes were complicated and difficult to follow, and really designed so that we were confident users could follow those routes. But that's not the real world. And then, so from there, we quickly had to get this experience onto our phones, into our cars, and spend a lot of time just driving and testing it.
Yeah.
And one of the coolest parts of the process for me has been, we've had an active dog food chat going for several months now. People across Google who are testing out this experience, and Googlers have really showed up to be helpful, like all around the world, showing us what they're seeing through their windscreen, what they're seeing on their phones, pointing out places where it's working, where it's not working, where it's beautiful, where it's not beautiful. And that's really helped us hone the experience and make it what it is.
So there's this beautiful, vivid map of the world. It's like it's dimensional. It's got all these beautiful colors and layers and things. And then, as Dave was just saying, we had to make sure that we're adapting to the drive that user is having, right? Like, if you're on a long stretch of road, you don't want anything distracting. You just want to zoom out and see the full route.
Yeah.
But if you are about to come to a complex interchange and you need to take a left and then a right, you want to see more of the route. So, the camera actually tilts and pans to show you more of the route. So you can look around those corners, so you never have to miss a turn.
Yeah.
That was our goal. If we do a great job, you never have to miss a turn. But then we also realized that it's not just the camera and showing the route, it's the voice guidance that you give right at the right moment, when you're preparing, not when you're at the intersection and you're, or find yourself in the wrong lane. So we have to tell you a few hundred meters ahead of time, you need to be on this other lane so you can take this turn. We had to sell it in a human understandable form. Rather than say 500 meters, we would say after the gas station or go past 2 lights. So it's really understandable and intuitive. And, even as you're arriving, it would say, stay on the left side, parking is behind the building, or parking is on the side of the building or underground. So you want all of this kind of really intuitive voice and visuals guiding you in concert. So that's like the full navigation experience. But I should also mention, the world is not static. It's changing all the time.
Yeah.
You have, traffic situations, you have incidents on the road, sometimes it's construction. And once again, just as we were talking about our contributors in AskMap side, we have hundreds of millions of people contributing to us and telling us about real-time disruptions on your route. So we overlay this driving experience with all of that information, real-time information of what's going on around your route. We also offer you alternate routes when we find that, you are going to be stuck in traffic for some time and there is a better way for you. We offer you choices. So your route, your way, your choice, right? So when we talk about immersive navigation, it's this full experience. The goal is to make sure that you get to your destination confidently and stress-free.
I love that. What I'm actually super curious, like I've seen the visual and the new UI experience. Like, how do we actually get that? It's like impressive to think about how we get the level of fidelity. Is it just like satellite imagery from Google Earth plus a bunch of other stuff? Like,
Yes,
I'm like, I don't even understand how it's possible, but
there was a lot of hard but fun stuff that went on behind the scenes on that one. So obviously we start from our street view imagery, our aerial imagery. We have mapped all the road networks, several, hundreds of millions of kilometers of it. But, when we actually do the rendering, we found that, we didn't have a renderer capable of doing all of that high fidelity stuff. So we actually worked in-house with Google Labs on building out a brand new renderer that would power some of these capabilities. And it's called Impress. The same renderer is actually found on our XR devices as well. Anytime you have to have this vivid, beautiful, view of the world, we use this sort of a renderer for abstract maps and abstract views of the world. And so, that renderer and co-developing it with the labs team is what helped us bring it to this level of fidelity. But how do you know it reflects the real world? So that was another challenge. How do you know that we've modeled it correctly, right? So we actually used Gemini to do these evals.
Interesting.
So what we did is we would take our street view as ground truth, and we would take our rendered versions that we are automating and simulating a drive, and we would have Gemini compare the two and do automated evals. There's a lot of human raters and evals too. There's a lot of field testing that we're doing with operators as well. Dogfooding, as Dave mentioned. But if you want to do this at scale, you need something of far more automated. And that's where Gemini was really able to help us, tell us, hey, you're missing crosswalks here, or there's a median there, or this road has to fork here. It really has accelerated the pace of our innovation.
That's so cool. I feel like in all these conversations that I have with folks across Google, it's like this thread of like Gemini, like truly being an accelerant for the like pace of progress from a product perspective, and even the model itself perspective is very salient. But I'm super excited for more folks to get their hands on this experience. We've got lots of feature requests from this conversation. Thank you both for sitting down. Congrats on the launch. Excited for more folks to get their hands on this. And thank you everyone for watching this episode of Release Notes. We'll see you in the next one.